So our webinar is called Easy Access to Personal Data, Removing Obstacles to Unleash the Value in the Sharing of Personal Data. This webinar is organized by DataVaults project together with our partner, innovative SME MyDataMood, and with support of Big Data Value Association, which provided us with platform. Many thanks to BDVA for their support. So today we have a bit unusual webinar with a lot of interaction with participants. We will discuss the important topics regarding data sharing. As you know, the European Commission and national governments were taking a lot of efforts in establishing a European data market and bringing value from not just to big corporations like we have situation at the moment, but also to individual users, to individual data providers. And they were trying to provide a better, fair regulation for the market and also provide the legal and also technological basis together in collaboration with the European industry for establishing the market itself. So we have many innovative projects which are running at the moment, addressing these issues. There are many issues related not only technical issues, but also legal and especially ethic issues. And there are many obstacles to overcome. So DataVaults is one of the projects which are funded by the European Commission and which are trying to do a step in addressing these topics, and it provides a technological solution which we will present shortly today. And like our partner, which is co-organizing with us this workshop on their hand, we're also doing a lot of work in this domain, and we will discuss today. And we will see what is a potential value for end users, for public administrations, for organizations in Europe. We have several pilot partners in our projects which will be presented today, where we will tell and try to explain what is the add value from all this data market, exchange, use of data. And in our case, we are talking about personal data. So this is our program for today. And I propose what we go first to, according to our agenda, to the first presentation, where we will provide you overview of the technical aspects of DataVaults projects. So I'm giving a word now to my colleague, Dr. Sotirios Koussouris, who is a scientific coordinator of the project. Sotirios, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much, Yuri.
I'm stopping sharing.
Okay, and a big welcome to everybody. I'm trying to share my screen. Just give me a moment here. So I hope it works. Yeah. So I will be talking today a little bit about what DataVaults is, and then move on with a little bit more of the technical details of our project. Of course, more you can find out later in the webinar, and you can visit our website, and we'll be in touch with you to clarify any questions you might have. So actually, the motivation for our project started from the fact that in the internet today there is a huge amount of active users that share their data for various reasons. However, only a small portion of those users believe that they do actually have control of their data. It has been, verified through various studies that especially young people are willing to share their data for actual benefits, but the benefits they're getting at this point is quite less than what it is expected. Apart from that, there are also other problems inherited, like privacy and trust, as their data are in most of the cases not treated as they need to be based on the actual contracts and terms that users sign. And if we look back even some months ago, we can see many issues and many scandals that have to do with data relevant aspects, data sovereignty, and misuse of data, and so on. So the idea for our project was actually to try and let people have an instrument in their hands to actually decide what they can do with their data, and actually try to provide back to those data owners a fair amount of the value that their data is generating. So actually that led to the creation of the DataVaults project, which started in the beginning of 2020, and is a project that is coordinated by Fraunhofer, FOKUS, and Yury. We are going to run for 3 years, so 1.5 years more from today, more or less. And we have 5 different demonstrators, which you will see later in the webinar, in order to try and test our assumptions and actually create the critical mass for putting, let's say, in motion this personal data marketplace. So the main vision is to deliver a platform and a framework that actually dictates how this platform works in order to define secure, trusted, and privacy-preserving mechanisms for individuals when it comes to sharing their personal data. And the idea is, first of all, to let the data owners or the data providers decide what they would like to say to share, how much they value this data and in which manner. So we employ technologies that have to do with access control, with security and trust in sharing activities, and with letting users understand their risk exposure based on past and present activities they have conducted when it comes to sharing personal information. We need to guarantee the privacy and the security of those personal data end-to-end, from the collection stage of a user to the actual sharing and utilization of those data by different data consumers. So we need to have in place crypto operations. We need to have in place things that have to do with preserving anonymity or preserving privacy and security of data, but at the same time allowing those data to be somehow discoverable by interested seekers, because this is the way that such a market can go on, and to generate interest also from the data consumer side. And of course, we need to have, as I said in the beginning, a mechanism that will allow the fair share of value between the data consumers and the data owners, based on contracts that they will sign, based on technologies that have to do with recording stuff in immutable ledgers. So this calls actually for blockchain technologies, and with technologies that actually can extract intelligence out of those data and actually give the necessary extra value on top of the raw data that is being shared. So when it comes to data sharing, one of the main things that we are having in mind is also how data can be shared. And this is actually quite tightly coupled with the value of the data. So in this table, you just see an example that we have about different sharing modalities, as we call them, for data. And you can see that the data can be shared in different formats when it comes to whether it is being shared, let's say, encrypted, or if it's being shared in anonymous manner, and so on. If data is shared completely or partially, or where data is located upon sharing. And all those have, as I said, an impact in the different security, in the different, value levels of the data. So imagine, for example, that you share data that is encrypted. Here you see this blue circle with the X, the red X inside. So if you share data that is, for example, unencrypted, then you actually score quite low when it comes to security and privacy. You provide many obstacles, but you don't provide many obstacles when it comes to analytics accuracy, and you have a high value of those data because the data seeker can actually get their real unencrypted and anonymized, for example, data. At the same time, for example, if you are going to share data that is fully anonymized, of course, you can score quite high in privacy, but at the end of the day, the data value is not that high if it was like raw personal data where somebody could actually know more about the individual. So we are trying actually in the project to utilize different technologies and blend different technologies together to allow the users decide actually where they would like to stand with each one of their own private data sets when they share. And this, of course, has an impact on the accuracy of the analytics that people could run. It has an impact on the performance of the overall system. Imagine, if you would like to decrypt big data sets, of course, you have to expect some delays. And of course, it has also an impact on the value of the overall data exchange. So our actors actually are, as I said before, data owners and data seekers. So people that are able first to extract and collect their own data, and we want them to collect their own data in one place and securely store them at their premise, and then share the data with economic operators who are interested to get those data. So actually, if we see how this could look in a basic user journey, you have a data owner who is extracting data from various data sources and collects this data on premise. Then he has the option to encrypt this data and apply some access policies and actually store this data either locally or on a cloud-based environment that could act as a marketplace. So once the data is stored and is, let's say, offered to the market for anybody to view, then it's the turn of a data seeker. So we go down in this diagram to the data seeker who can actually search for this data over the store. He can utilize technologies that have to do with plain queries, but also searchable encryption queries in case the data is encrypted, and can then request the data by proposing a contract. So once a contract is proposed from a data seeker, this contract is forwarded to the data owner, who has actually the option to accept or reject this contract. And if the contract is accepted, then those data are made available to the data seeker, who can go on and access and analyze them based on different services that we offer on the platform, but he can also take the data offline and continue his operations exactly as he would. Are part of the contract. So the way that this works in our case is that we have built an approach where DataVaults actually comes into the picture as a data broker, and there is a double permissioned ledger approach with DataVaults as the intermediate entity, as our approach actually aims to maximize privacy of data owners. So actually, when a transaction is performed, what is being done is that there is no direct interaction between data owners and data seekers. Actually, what can be done is that the data seeker, upon discovery of a data asset that is of value actually conducts a transaction with the DataVaults platform, which is the data broker, and then the platform actually conducts a similar a carbon copy transaction with the data owner. So all of the compensation flows through our platform, and in no point in no stage of this transaction there is a direct interaction between data owners and data seekers, as we would like to actually fully preserve anonymity and privacy of data owners. So we have a quite complex architecture which is shown in this diagram. I'm not gonna go through it because it's quite difficult to explain in just 5 minutes. The idea, as you see it here, is that on the left hand side, you have a personal DataVaults app. This is what you can see in this green box, where actually this is an infrastructure that resides at the side of the user. So this can reside in a private cloud, this can reside in a Raspberry, and we're trying to see if this can also reside in a mobile phone. So what this personal app does is that it actually is the collection point of the data from of the data seekers. So you have some a data fetcher module that actually gets the data and stores the data at your point. Okay, you can run some analytics, and then what is interesting is that you can decide through a sharing configurator how you would like to share this data. So through this configurator, you can apply access policies, you can apply anonymization methods, and you can apply other security and crypto operations. And then the data is shared to the right-hand side. So I'm talking actually about the red or orange. I don't know how the color is displayed actually in your screens, arrows, which actually show the data flow. So on the right-hand side with the blue, in the blue box, we have a cloud-based platform, which is actually where the data that is shared is hosted. So data comes into such a data store, and then there we have a central module, which is a query builder and data explorer that you see in the middle. I believe you can also see my cursor, which is being used by data seekers to actually query on this data. So queries are being executed. Of course, access policies are in place. Encryption is in place. So based on the profile, the attributes of the data seeker, different results are provided to them, always based on the sharing configuration that a data owner has chosen for his asset. And once a data asset is found, then the data seeker can have the option to request a contract and compose a contract, which is then forwarded to a DLT engine to be executed. So once we are there, actually the value flow starts. So the contract is executed, and then the platform wallet communicates with a wallet from the data seeker and the wallet from a data owner, and the values flowing from one side to the other. And once the transaction is completed, actually this data asset is being forwarded to the storage space of the data seeker. So in this diagram, you can actually see, okay, in a nutshell, in a bird's eye view, how the data flows from one side to the other. So imagine that there are many personal apps, one personal app per user that collects their data, and they choose when and what to share. And on the other side, there is a cloud-based infrastructure that allows people to search over their data and create different contracts and let the value flow as it's intended. So as we're building at the moment this infrastructure, we are coming against many challenges. one of the main challenges is that although data exists, it is quite hard to fetch it, because in most of the cases, data is fenced, meaning that APIs are quite limited or are not, openly exposed, or do not allow developers to easily get data, because many platforms have actually understood the value of data, and though they claim that they can, provide the data out to the data owners, this can happen only through very unflexible ways that are in many cases not machine friendly. So many of the data export things do not work through APIs, for example, and you just have to download files, and through APIs you can only get a small portion of it. So it makes the life of developers and the life of people that would like to interconnect with those systems quite difficult. Another big issue is that there is a need to persuade data owners to share their data, and providing incentives is a key, which is actually some of the things that we are going to discuss today also in the webinar. And of course, what is quite important, but also difficult to achieve, and it's a major challenge, is how to actually build the applications, and I'm talking mostly about the personal app side, in a simple and intuitive manner, so that people can actually perform these data sharing activities quite fast and with just 2 or 3 clicks, without, however, trading over the privacy and security guarantees that we can offer. As you have seen in the previous slide, you can have many different options and many different mechanisms supported by various technologies for enabling different levels of security and privacy. But all this complexity has somehow to be hidden from a user, without, of course, taking control of it as a platform. So we need to find here the golden line between offering quite sophisticated privacy and security methods, but also allowing users to actually work quite fast with such interfaces and not be discouraged by their complexity. So that would be all from my side. I'd like to thank you very much once again. And I think we are back to Yuri.
Yuri, you are mute.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you, I was moved. Thank you, Sotiris. So our next speaker, our colleague, Marina Da Bormida. Marina will present our DataVaults citizen-centric approach to moving beyond GDPR compliance. Marina, you can share your screen.
Yes, thanks, Yuri. Thanks also for the invitation to this event. Now you can probably see my screen. I am a lawyer, a researcher specialized in research and innovation, and serving as ethics expert in several European projects and for European Commission. Here in this project, I am involved through ETA, which is the legal expert of the DataVaults Consortium. And today I would like to present and to share with you our vision and approach for moving beyond GDPR compliance towards building a win-win personal data sharing, benefiting all the actors involved. First of all, GDPR implications and legal issues, as well as ethics concerns, are central in the DataVaults work plan. And according to this choice, we defined and analyzed the regulatory and ethical reference framework for personal data sharing relevant to our platform, focusing on privacy and data protection law, human rights law, soft law and other ethics instruments, e-privacy, and many new pieces of legislation under development, such as the Data Governance Act. The approach I mentioned before is based on three main pillars. The first is ethics and fairness, which means to embed loyalty and good faith solutions in our technology and in the whole data life cycle. And to avoid any adverse impact for the individuals, as well as ensuring equal opportunities, avoiding any unjustified impairment in the freedom of choice. The second pillar is the so-called sharing the wealth paradigm, which is really key to build our win-win data sharing ecosystem, benefiting all the actors involved. And so the individual side, the academy, the society at all, and the business interest, seeking for a balance on a case-by-case basis. The third and last pillar is more common. It is the privacy and security by default and by design, which means to embed privacy principles in the design since the very beginning, and to select the privacy setting as the default option, avoiding a manual input from the user. We, according to GDPR, also adopted a risk-based approach. According to this, we were able to identify the legal and ethical requirements, which are 13 and have a different nature. Some are binding, some other are recommendation. We also provided the technical teams with guidelines, recommendation, and insights for their implementation. They are key for the design, development and validation of DataVault technology, and to some extent also for their future operation after the project end. I mentioned that for us it is really important to adopt a citizen-centric vision, because it is really essential to build the win-win data sharing ecosystem, and also to build trust in alignment with European vision as expressed in the European Strategy for Data. For this reason, we conducted a survey on citizen perspective on personal data sharing for capturing their perception, doubts, concern, and their openness to use DataVaults personal data sharing platform. We also conducted an additional survey to capture the point of view of the data seekers questionnaire. We conducted the citizen survey through the Reach Out survey tool, which was very useful because also provide analysis function. The survey ended at the end of May and consisted of 30 multiple choice questions, and was also promoted in our Facebook, Twitter, and other channels, as well as with BTVA and Aero system channels. Some consideration regarding the respondent of our survey. First of all, they are between 31 and 60 years. The majority of them is this. Most of them are male. As regards the country, most of the respondents were from Belgium and Italy, followed by Greece, but with many responses also from other countries, both at European level and not. The education level was high, bachelor degree or up. And now we can analyze or have a preview of some insights and findings from this survey. But we have not the time to go into details for each of them, so I will only mention some. Regarding the first group of questions, it was around the attitude towards personal data sharing. And it is good to see that many answers show a positive feeling towards personal data sharing. And the same position is in case of sensitive data, such as health data and genetic data. The level of confidence with personal data sharing platform like DataVault is medium, not very high. And some respondent is totally with any experience on this. The personal data sharing is perceived as useful, somewhat useful, not very useful, but it is a good starting point. There is not great willingness in sharing the insight and analysis performed by the platform. It is more interesting for them to share the data themselves. A large majority consider extremely or very important to know how and by whom personal data are used. There is a great concern on potential abuse of the personal data from the personal data sharing platform, and it is extremely important to trust this platform in order to decide whether to share or not their data. The second group of questions was about data retrieval, storage, and deletion. And here we can see that the respondent, the individuals, feel not very comfortable if the personal data are collected in a semi-automatic manner by app. There is a medium level of openness to share with DataVault content retrieved in external data sources like Twitter and Facebook. Some aspects are considered extremely relevant as regards data collection and use, and you can see, for instance, the expiration date and the avoidance of any auto-renewal once this expiration is in place. Some other aspects are considered relevant, such as the choice of the interval and frequency of data collection. Some others are perceived as not so relevant, for instance, the possible revocation of the authorization to collect personal data from a specific data source. The third group of questions concerned the privacy preservation on the shared data. And here it came out that it is highly important to have a tool for setting privacy preferences and anonymization levels. And the level of privacy preferred when sharing personal data seems to be anonymized or partially anonymized, so pseudo-anonymized data, and also aggregated data. Not very comfortable, they not feel very comfortable with eponymous data. It is critical to be aware of privacy risk exposure. Moving to the compensation mechanism, it is important to see that there is no a clear preference towards a compensation type. But it is interesting also to see that one of the most preferred one was the benefit others in society, in line with data altruism, which is one of the new provision of the Data Governance Act. And here you can see the list of compensation type. always regarding a compensation mechanism, they think that it is opportune to associate the sharing of different type of data with different amount. And it is also very important to be able to set the price for data. Thought it might be useful to have a pricing suggestion for setting a viable price. It is generally perceived as fair to correlate the pricing to the anonymization level, though there is also some opposite opinion. And there are opposite opinion also on the willingness to pay a fee for transaction. Moving to control and informed consent, in particular to the more relevant aspect to be considered by a platform tool when configuring the data sharing. The most important seems to be the anonymization level, the type of personal data, and licensing term, followed by definition of the characteristic of the data seekers. And then we have other aspects which are less important. They also feel very useful to have a tool for automatically setting the preferences for data sharing in particular circumstances, for instance, for a specific data source or in relation to a specific data seekers, as well as for modifying these preferences automatically. It is absolutely key to have a notification service, and some aspects were identified as more interesting to know, such as the current privacy exposure and the history. It is perceived as fatiguing and potentially making less effective the consent mechanism to have multiple consent requests. And the data portability is perceived as useful. It is all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. So now, as I promised, we are going to one interactive session. We will have two interactive sessions to collect your opinion on these topics. And this session will be coordinated by my colleague, John Kaldis. John? We cannot hear you, John. You need to activate your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So welcome, everyone. I will be sharing my screen now. Hopefully, you will be able to.
We can see it.
Okay, you can see it. Very well. So I'm not going to waste too much time. We have the opportunity to have not one but two interactive sessions in which we will live gather your viewpoints on issues that concern mainly data seekers, people who seek to acquire data, but also data owners. And the first session you will be able to join through this link that has been shared as session 1 in the chat. So I would like to invite everyone to join and give you a minute. If you cannot, then in case you are through a mobile phone, you can use this link through Slido or this QR code. Hopefully in your browser, you will be viewing questions, whereas in the presentation, you will be seeing the results live as they are being shared with all the partners. I see that people have already begun to start voting. The general idea, and this relates very well to the evaluation process that we are applying at DataVaults, and we have a relevant deliverable by our kind collaborator, Shaun Topham, leading it, is we seek to find potential benefits. And what you are requested to do is rank them in your perceived order of importance. We will have to wait for a minute so that everybody will be able to join and vote. We already have 9 votes, and I ask you to not be influenced by whatever other people answer. Of course, these results are going to be shared publicly both in the social media of DataVaults and also in the relevant deliverables. So there will be a combination of evaluation from the questionnaire that Marina presented before, from this interactive session, from the direct feedback that we get from our various stakeholders. And hopefully we will be able to depict very well how people perceive the notions that DataVaults is dealing with. In a few seconds, we will have to switch to the next. Totally, we have 5 polls in which you will be participating. Of course, you can always revisit. So we shall now proceed to the second one. Now in your browsers, you will be able to see a different question, which is actually a multiple yes/no question. You can select more than one, select all that apply, to indicate your level of agreement. In the case you are a data seeker, you would consider acquiring for a monetary compensation or not data sets based only on a small percentage of their contents as shown to you, or you can gather data as aggregated groups, as personas. We would like to know if you would consider to pay, to provide some monetary compensation to the data owners so that you would be able to acquire their data. Related to privacy and anonymization, whether you would be willing to acquire data that you don't know the exact identity, and whether you would provide a higher monetary compensation, more money, if they were to be willing to remove anonymization. So if it's not anonymized, would you be willing to pay more? In order to ensure that everybody has voted, we will wait for another 30 seconds. Indeed, the results are very insightful. I believe we have 15 answers, and which is equal to the previous one, and I am inviting everyone else who is present to keep on voting and sharing if you wish. We shall now move to the third poll. And I see that for the time being, the winner is that we would be willing to provide money to data owners for their data as data seeker is the one that's winning. This is very interesting. So let's move to the third poll. consider now that you are sharing your data. And there are 4 levels of privacy or anonymization that you could go through, from total anonymization to absolute no anonymization at all, so the data can be directly linked to you. And in between, we have 2 other levels. The same levels exactly are used in the Pan-European evaluation questionnaire that Marina presented before and was disseminated in 5 different languages in various countries. So we're using the exact same expressions. You could be giving data aggregated in a large pool of similar data, part of anonymized groups, or in less anonymization levels, it could be partially anonymous. What is really interesting so far after 13 votes is that the 2 extremes, absolute no-anonymization and also full anonymization, seem to be the least preferred options. And that is indeed very interesting. We will be waiting for another 10 seconds for the 3rd out of 5 polls for everyone to vote. And we shall now move to the 4th part. Now, the 4th and the 5th part are what we call in survey technology Likert scales. So you are requested to evaluate in a scale from 1 to 5 with stars. I believe in your screens and in your browsers you should be having stars or something similar. From 1 to 5, questions relating to the compensation and data sharing. I'm telling you in advance that this question, number 4, asks you as an individual if you would be willing to accept more money, higher money, to agree to share your data with less privacy and anonymization. Whereas the 5th question that is going to come afterwards poses the exact same question, but this time as a data seeker. Would you be willing to give more money for less anonymization? For the time being, you should be answering as an individual who decides to share their private data. If you were given more monetary incentives and compensation, would you be willing to reduce privacy and anonymization? And what is interesting from the results so far is that, of course, people aren't fully decided. This is why I see the middle option, neither agree nor disagree, winning. But the statistics say that info lies in the details. The curve of statistics shows that it is clearly skewed to the right. So we have a lot more tendency towards agreement rather than disagreement, and this is why the score is 3.7. We will be leaving this question for another 10 seconds, and we will move to the final one. Now let's move to the final one. This is the exact same question about Likert scales, but this time if you were a professional data seeker, would you be willing to offer higher monetary value for data with less privacy? Of course, again, 1 strongly disagree, 5 strongly agree. Please kindly vote. For some reason, I do not see people voting in the last one. So I would like to invite you to refresh your browser and make sure that you vote in the last question. Okay, so now indeed we have 17 answers. I have noticed that as the poll progresses, we get more and more participants. Maybe people were not so accustomed to this new tool. Honestly, it is the first time that we as DataVaults are also using it. So what I will do is for 1 minute, I will revisit the first 3 polls, 1 minute each. So those of you, only those of you who might have forgotten to participate, will have now the opportunity to refill. Only those that have not voted. Let's move again to question 1. For those that didn't manage to answer, we will stay here for a minute. Please refresh your browsers. And now we will go to number 2. Thank you. We are receiving more answers. This is very nice. Let's go to number 2 for a minute as well, in case someone missed it. And finally, let us move to poll number 3 in case someone missed it. You may refresh your browser and participate, those of you that haven't. So what I would like to mention is that this was only half of it. Later, during our workshop, we're going to have a second interactive session with 5 more answers. And we are looking forward to your participation. Of course, the results are going to be published, like I said, both in social media and in the relevant deliverables of DataVaults. That will be all on our side. I will now return the microphone to Yuri. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you, John. It was quite interactive. I have to comment, refreshing the browser takes some time. So if you don't need to refresh, better don't refresh. Otherwise, in my case, it takes like 1-2 minutes to load it. So now we are coming to an interesting presentation, which will be done by our partners with whom we are organizing this interesting, I hope, interesting webinar. It's a MyDataMood. So I guess Sabine will be the main speaker.
Yes.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. Hello, Yuri. Hi.
And Jaime.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the introduction, and many thanks for organizing this this workshop, this webinar, and inviting MyDataMood to participate in it. I'm going to share my presentation, but meanwhile, Okay. Can you see it?
We can see your screen.
Okay, thank you.
But it's not in full screen mode. You need to make it full screen. Yes.
Okay.
Now it's full screen.
Okay, thank you. Well, MyDataMood is a startup, a European startup based in Madrid, in Spain. Well, first of all, let me introduce. I'm Sabina Guaylupo. I'm here together with my colleague Jaime. We are two of the 5 co-founders of MyDataMood. We are coming from different professional fields, which is a very important point, and you will see why. We are coming from fields of marketing, technical technician, psychologist, and legal as well. As I said, MyDataMood is a European startup based in Madrid, which was born at the end of 2019. And after more than 20 years of professional career, we started our company with one main idea. Personal data is one of the most valuable resources in this digital era, but do we already know how to take advantage in a low fullness, fairness, and a transparent way of this personal data, especially in the field of commercial and marketing activities? To answer this question, we would like to present what is the current situation in the field, as I said, of the marketing activities, or in order to use the personal data for marketing and commercial purpose. The current situation is that there is not a direct or a useful link between users, between individuals, between prospect or clients and companies. Why? Because there is an entity or a role in the middle, the data brokers, that are not extracting the data in a fairly way. What does the situation? What is the result of those situation? On the one hand, the users know that they generate data when they use a lot of services, especially in the digital environment. But the user know that they cannot neither control what information, what of the data is being structured and is being sold, neither to which company is being sold. On the other hand, the user is not receiving any compensation for the data as well. But on the other hand, we have companies that for the commercial or marketing activities need data, need personal data, or at least contact data from the individuals. But they are getting this data from data brokers, for example, big companies such as Facebook, Google, through marketing advisors, third-party data, for example, cookies, or they are getting data from companies. We are getting these leads not very qualified from, for example, online contests. These companies, as I said, also need data. They cannot control the quality of the data that they receive. This means that they are spending a lot of money, but they are not getting a good result. And they have to assume a very high cost to acquire new customers. What is in this environment, in this scenario, what is MyDataMood? MyDataMood is the platform which aims managing personal data and digital identity, but allowing a fair and a transparent data between individuals and organizations, between data owners, following the terminology of DataVaults, and data seekers. Okay, how? On the one hand, enforcing a transparent data exchange between individuals and brands, allowing to the users to monetize data, and not only to users, but companies as well, sharing revenues with both sides, companies and users, connecting customers or individuals or data owners with brands through attractive offers, with relevant offers, and making to the users their identity, digital identity visible. With respect to the MyDataMood platform, is divided into 4 main modules. The first one related to the possibility to get hyper-qualified data. How? Because we allow to the users sharing their personal data with the company selected. The users is taking the data control because they can choose not only what type of data, but to with companies want to share their data. And on the other hand, companies can get legitimate and top quality data. The second module, the Marketplace and Lab Interactive, allows to the data seekers, as previously mentioned, seeking for data and pay for it, and to the users monetize their data. And when we say monetize, we are not talking about only getting or receiving money, but because the user can receive all the kind of profits or all the kind of benefits, for example, special offers, discounts, services, an upgrade of a service or content, etc. The third module is the module related to privacy, because MyDataMood is allowing or is offering to the user exercise the privacy, the privacy rights stated in the GDPR, stated in the privacy regulation on their behalf. And the fourth module is related to visibility and digital identity management, because MyDataMood is allowing to the user seeing the digital identity that they are projecting or they are presenting through digital environment, not only social media, but any kind of digital environment. At this sense, MyDataMood is offering 3 different services, at least for users, as I said, sharing personal data, contact, and enriched data related to their habits, interests with companies. They can as well exercise their rights, and they can manage their digital identity. For companies, we are allowing accessing to the legitimate qualified leads, and as well allowing company to qualify leads using high quality information, but obtaining in a transparent and controlled way by the user, client, or following your terminology, data owners. In summary, what we are searching is getting a new paradigm from not only using anonymized data, but personal data as well, and from a system using data brokers under a very opaqueness way to a transparent, fairness, a lawfulness way. In this sense, what is MyDataMood offering, especially to the data owners and to the data seekers, or to the individuals and to the companies? On the one hand, the user, the individual, through the platform MyDataMood can declare and connect their personal data. Users can upload into the platform their data on a voluntary and declarative basis, or they can connect with other data sources through APIs. On the other hand, they can sharing. The users can take control of the data because they can select the companies to share that with. And on the other hand, they can monetizing, as I previously said, not only getting money, but getting other kind of benefits or profit. And in this case, MyDataMood is acting as a transparent and fair data broker. Okay. Additionally, we can offer to the users the exercise of data subject rights and the management of their digital identity. With respect to the companies, with respect to the data seekers, what are we offering to the data seekers? We have very different models. For example, data for content, data for service, data for offers, data for anything. This is a resume of our profit scheme, of our revenue scheme. We can see that there are 2 options. The user can register into MyDataMood as on a voluntary basis, or they can invite it by a company company where he's actually a client or not. For example, in this diagram, you can see that the company Jaime invites the user to co-register with MyDataMood in the MyDataMood platform, offering any kind of benefits or incentive in order to register into MyDataMood. Then the user register in MyDataMood and he can activate the available connectors. They can activate the connectors in order to upload into the platform different personal data or different data coming from different sources through different APIs. Then once the connector are active, the users can choose which information or what type of data wants to share and which sectors wants to be contacted by, with which sectors or company they want they will to be contacted, will to receive marketing information from. And then MyDataMood gives the whole information on a usable structure and extract personalized profiles, taking account the user consent and wishes. Obviously, the user have to give their permission in order to use their personal data, and show them to the companies the interest brands in the marketplace. I would like to stop here and give the floor to my colleague Jaime in order to explain from a more technical point of view this module, and especially the GDPR enable. Jaime?
Jaime, your mic is on.
Yeah, okay. Here I am. Thank you, Sabina. Thank you all very much for the chance to be here and present ourselves. I'm the CTO of MyDataMood. I'm not the best technical one in the team. We have a great team with us, but I like to talk about the tech modules which make us a bit different, but in a very simple way. So, as you have seen, based on Sabina's presentation, Mooders, which are our user, are collecting data by typing them, by using the connectors, by using the exercise of rights like portability or access. And that is composing their profile, their digital profile. So now they have the profile, but data is variable. It will change. Let's think that I have a dog, and that's the information I have. I have a dog, and in 2 months' time, maybe I have 2 or I have none. If we increase the complexity, we can think, okay, I'm happy to share that I have a dog if that's a hobby, like I like animals, but maybe I don't want any company to know that I have a dog in terms of family. But we can increase even more the complexity, because I could be happy to share that I have a dog to insurance companies, but I don't want any car make to know that I have a dog. Moreover, we can decide what to do with the dog in terms of data internally in MyDataMood, because there is another way to generate data inside MyDataMood, which is our artificial intelligence platform, generating more valuable data. So all those scenarios are trying always to give the user, the Mooder, to decide what to do with the data, and also create more, introduce more, modify, and keep track of all the permissions given. That's what we call the GDPR enable. The GDPR enable is a web tool where they can go very deep into permissions or go very up and decide what to do with their data. And that's critical, because that's what makes, in the end, data to be legitimate. We need Mooders to control if they want to be 100% private or if they are happy to share data. So that's the GDPR enable, and that's one of our key elements. The second one, which is the artificial intelligence area, it's very related, but we have decided to go for SHI technology, explainable artificial intelligence. We don't want algorithms to be something dark, like a black box. We want algorithms to be open for Mooders. So SHI is trying to give a view and light to to models by knowing which are the entry data into a model and which is the output. So they are capable to modify the entry or the output, and in the end also use the GDPR enable to decide if that information should belong to the profile, should be removed, or maybe in the end sell it, because what we are trying to do is create a more valuable profile. So those are the two modules I wanted to share with you today. That's as far as technical as I'm going to get here, but I'm pretty happy to have separate calls and get further. So that's all of me, and thank you very much for this time.
Thank you, Sabina. Thank you, Jaime. So we are coming now to next point in our. Yes.
If I can, I would like to share with you a very short video in order to show the data for content.
Okay, please do it.
It's in Spanish, but it's subtitled.
Not be seen very well.
Cede sus datos a cambio de 3 meses.
It's zoom it. I don't know if there is a way to unzoom.
Con ello, se da de alta tanto en unidad editorial como en MyDataMood.
Sabina, sorry.
You cannot see the video.
No, it's the subtitles are not be seen. It's like to zoom.
Okay.
Maybe you need to put it on full screen. In full screen, did you put it in full screen? Your Zoom window to make it full screen.
And try it again.
No, it's like your screen is the one which is zoom. I don't know.
Yes, it doesn't work.
Okay, I try to fix it and try to show you at the end of the webinar.
Okay.
I don't want to stop the Shaun presentation.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll be very, very quick, try catch up. Essentially, Yuri is going to show a couple of videos, but basically one of the obstacles, you could say, is for what we're doing, we need citizens. And one approach to get these citizens was working through smart cities. At the European level, the flagship scheme is the Smart Cities Marketplace, which brings together best practice, the investors and the cities to try and get everything taken up more quickly. What DataVaults have set up is the Citizen Control of Personal Data initiative within that movement, and it's helping to build the conditions and relationships whereby the citizen will be willing to share personal data with the city and with other actors in the data economy. So I think when you're looking at what the issues of doing that, a comparable area is the problems they've had in getting cities to take up urban data platforms. Basically, the chap in charge of that unit says, well, the problem is people don't just recognize why they possibly might need an urban data platform. So in terms of getting rid of that obstacle, lack of knowledge, Rotterdam Erasmus University did a study as part of Ruggedized and came up with really that we're providing methods and tools to help the multiple cities adopt, but they also require very practical use cases, practical roadmaps, joint business cases, and really to have a set of solutions which will be available for citizens to be able to share their data with smart cities and the wider data economy in the city. So we're going to show you 2 videos now of 2 cities which are demonstrators in DataVaults, Prato and Piraeus. And I think it's in that context that you have to see that they're contributing to a wider movement. So Yuri, if you're showing the videos. So yeah, this is the Prato one first.
Prato is a medieval city with almost 200,000 inhabitants. It is located in Tuscany, 17 kilometers far away from Florence, and it is famous in the world for its textile industry. The Prato municipality is very active in the implementation of digital services and is also very interested in exploiting the potential of citizens' personal data. With the DataVaults project, in Prato we want to try to use personal data for the planning and implementation of new services in mobility, cultural and administrative processes. In mobility planning, we currently use data provided by traffic sensors with high costs and only partial information. If we want citizens' personal data, we have to buy it from big data players without guaranteeing privacy and with high costs. DataVaults will help us to access citizens' personal data while respecting their privacy, provide a reward to citizens for their contribution instead of paying the big data providers. With the DataVaults platform, the Mobility Office will be able to identify groups of citizens based on their habits and preferences and send them questionnaires and surveys, access citizens' data and enrich the knowledge base for a more effective update of mobility plans, and provide citizens with a compensation for their contribution. Cultural institutions in the city are also very interested in individuals' personal data, and with DataVaults, they will be able to identify subjects to whom to send information material and ask for feedbacks on cultural events, analyze the cultural interests of citizens and tourists, compensate individuals directly, and save on the purchase of personal data from big suppliers, direct the cultural offer in a more targeted way. Finally, we will test the use of the DataVaults tools to facilitate the access to the personal certificates of citizens. The DataVaults app will allow citizens to acquire and share their personal certificates with third parties, fully protecting their privacy and simplifying the bureaucratic process. The administration will thus be able to reduce management costs and possibly convert them into benefits for citizens. For a public administration, the DataVaults platform will then represent an innovative tool for protecting the privacy of citizens and promoting awareness of the real value of personal data and its fair redistribution.
Now we'll move on to the Piraeus one now. There is a slight overlap. They both deal with mobility.
Piraeus is the largest and busiest port in Greece, among the biggest European ports and the main hub connecting Europe, Asia and Africa. Piraeus is the maritime and former industrial center of the Athens metropolitan area and one of the most densely populated cities in Europe. Apart from commercial trading, Piraeus is a cruise home port with over 12 million travelers annually. This causes heavy traffic in the road network of the city center. Piraeus has a lot of touristic attractions, remains of ancient temples and buildings, the neoclassical municipal theatre, industrial buildings of the early 20th century, impressive modern buildings, and several museums such as the Archaeological and the Hellenic Maritime Museum. Piraeus also has one of the biggest commercial areas in Greece, having a large market that is based both on local citizens as well as on tourists. The recent financial crisis, along with the COVID-19 pandemic, has hit this market, resulting in a decrease of new business ventures of around 82% compared to the growth witnessed 10 years ago. In order to counterbalance this deficit and to restart the local economy, the city of Piraeus engaged an integrated territorial investment program of the amount of over 80 million euro, as well as several digital strategy actions. Through DataVaults, Piraeus aspires to renovate the way it collects, manages and analyzes data, moving from simple information provision and limited feedback solutions towards embracing novel citizens and visitors engagement practices. The DataVaults app will allow the targeted stakeholders to provide more and richer data to the city, entailing more personalized services, always in a trusted and secure manner, respecting their privacy. It goes without saying that DataVaults will be aligned with GDPR and the respective national regulations about the treatment of personal and sensitive data. More specifically, through DataVaults, the municipality of Piraeus aims to enhance smart mobility services in the city, especially around the local sports venues at times of sport events where large crowds are attending. This will be facilitated through the DataVaults app by receiving and analyzing traffic data from individuals attending the sport events. Empower local entrepreneurship. Data acquired through the DataVaults platform will be used to better understand consumer behaviors and preferences, with the aim to strengthen the local economy with activities that can be brought forward by the municipality of Piraeus. Moreover, the municipality of Piraeus will engage local entrepreneurship associations like the Piraeus Traders Association and other interested stakeholders. Provide personalized services for cultural and touristic experiences. The aim here is to create services that target citizens and tourists visiting the city of Piraeus based on data acquired through the DataVaults platform. This is both aligned and complementary to the recently established Piraeus Destination Management Organization.
In addition to the Prato and Piraeus, there's also a third demonstrator, which is Olympiacos Sports Club. They showed the ground a couple of times. They're linked into the mobility application, but also they can use all the data they're gathering from their members, their supporters, for their own uses, for making the club more interesting, but also more attractive to share the information with sponsors. So we've touched on mobility in two cases. And so what we're looking at also is how do we tap into the large data ecosystems, the new data spaces which are going to appear. And so I mentioned mobility, but the other two applications we have, the two demonstration sites, one is entering into the energy ecosystem, which is MyEnergia, and the second one is entering into the health ecosystem. The Olympiacos one also touches into that because it deals with all the health of its sporting athletes from all its vast majority of clubs. So these next two videos, which Yuri is going to show, have got to be seen in how we participate in the wider ecosystems.
MIW Energía has managed in a short time to position itself as innovative SME reference in the Spanish electrical trading market, offering a wide range of energy services like electricity, photovoltaic self-consumption, energy efficiency, electric mobility, or large consumers and renewable energy producers representation. Data has become very valuable in the information age, which is why it must be able to be managed by its rightful owners. This is the main purpose of the DataVaults project. Photovoltaic energy is the key in the residential sector, but it's rarely implemented correctly. Thanks to real consumption data, we will be able to optimally size the installations, adapting the energy solutions to the real needs of each customer, promoting better use of energy in an efficient and environmentally sustainable way. It's a hard task to focus, where we have to improve the energy efficiency, and we know it. MIW Energía intends to do clustering of its pilot users to classify it with good energy performance against other with poorer results. In this way, it can report the situation and recommend consumption-saving measures such as the modification of lighting, household appliances, or habits. As an electricity trader, MIW Energía participates in the hourly electricity auction on a daily basis, buying the consumption forecast of its customers and selling that of its producers. Through the DataVaults playground, and thanks to the ability to upload additional external data to those obtained through the platform, it is intended to perform demand forecasting models using neural networks, thus predicting consumption for energy purchases. With all this, we will try to analyze consumption patterns, which, together with additional information about users such as their hobbies and interests, can help to launch commercial campaigns with greater interest and impact. those main issues are the ones that are going to be taken care of in the Spanish pilot.
Andaman 7 is a personal health record application that runs on your smartphone, so that it's a way for you as a patient to collect the data from your hospital, from labs, from your doctor, from basically all the sources of health data, and store all of that data on your smartphone. It's completely private, it's quite secure, and you are the only one to be in control of your data, and you can decide to share it or not. That improves the care you receive, obviously, but it also allows you to contribute to research, for example, medical research for finding new treatments. So in the case of DataVaults, the European projects that we are part of, we plan to add a few new features to the Andaman 7 application, which will facilitate that part, the research part. The goal, for example, is to store after patient consent. Of course, there is always a patient consent before sharing any type of health data. After patient consent, some of the data from the PHR, from the personal health record, will be stored directly on the DataVault personal server in a encrypted format, as has been explained before. And that data then could be used by some medical researcher stakeholders, like pharma companies, like hospitals, to do research based on your data. And your data, in most cases, will be anonymized. It's also a part of the consent of the patients. So that's one example, the data from the health record that is going to be shared through the DataVault system. Another example is questionnaires that could be sent to patients to ask them about side effects and various other questions about a new drug or a new treatment. And that data could also be shared via the DataVault system for improving or reducing cost of research. Another example in the other direction, I should say, suppose that there are health data coming from various sources on your personal DataVault on the cloud. With the Andaman 7 application, you will have the possibility to download that new data and store it locally inside your PHR, inside your personal health record on your smartphone. So we plan to have data exchange in both directions, and the main goals is to empower patients and also allow them to contribute to research, always after consent, so that privacy is fully respected and we have a high degree of security.
Okay, thank you, John. Oh, thank you, Shaun. Now we are coming to the next point in our agenda. I think it's the last one. We are a bit late in the time anyway, but I think we will finalize. Yes?
Yuri, my apologies to stop you. It's Jaakko, your technical support here. I have Sabina's video ready now to be shown, if that would fit the agenda at this point.
Yes, thank you.
It's very short, and I would like to present the video because it's like our pilot. It's our MVP. It's a real situation. It's a data for content that has been launched 2 weeks ago. So it's a very fresh situation.
Please show it.
Thank you, Jaakko.
El usuario cede sus datos a cambio de 3 meses de suscripción patrocinada en el diario El Mundo. Con ello, se da de alta tanto en unidad editorial como en MyDataMood. Adicionalmente, facilita de forma totalmente consciente datos sobre su perfil de consumidor. Para finalizar, decide con qué sectores quiere relacionarse. El usuario decide si desea ejercer sus derechos de privacidad o rentabilizar sus datos. Además, puede gestionar sus permisos y añadir nueva información. Por otro lado, puede disfrutar de un programa de beneficios y descuentos y puede transformar los points obtenidos en dinero.
Okay, thank you, Jaco.
Okay, thank you. It's good, but finally we managed to show it. So now we are coming to the last point in our program. It's a second interactive session. I hope you're still with us. And I give word to my colleague, John Kaldis. I hope the questions will be interesting as the last time.
So hopefully you will be able to see my screen. The link is the one shown in this PowerPoint and also shared in the chat. I would like to welcome everyone to join through their browser. I will not share yet, this is a surprise, the answer, because what we're trying to do is a word cloud, which means that if you join, you will be prompted to think words, any word that comes in mind, up to 25 characters, I believe, concerning to what data you would be willing to share. So if you don't mind sharing what you were shopping so that you get good advertising, you add shopping. If you don't mind people to know where you are, you might write geolocation. If you are in research and big data, you can write big data, and so forth. There are some examples shown to you, and you can keep on adding words. It's not just one. In the form that you will see in your browser, you can add 5, 6, 7, 8 words, whatever pops in mind. When talking about data sharing. Now, little by little, I will see what you guys have done. The question is, what data are you interested in? Either sharing or acquiring as a data seeker. Write all the words that come to mind. Social, health, geolocation, age, activity, financial, hobbies. I'm just giving you examples to initiate the discussion. Of course, it's not related only to that. Just a comment, when you write interests and hobbies, it would be best if you write one word interests and another word hobbies, because it will get lost. The same goes with comma. Go to the next word. I see, for instance, that we have here someone who inserted geolocation, comma, activity. It would be best if you add one word geolocation and next word activity. Because your vote will not count correctly. And I repeat that it can be anonymized, eponymous, financial, if you're willing to share your financial data or whatever. Due to the fact that this is a wide question and we will be using this word cloud, you see, as people are voting questions or words actually with more entries become bigger and bigger. We will be waiting for another 30 seconds. Because people might look at what other people said and might want to add things. So, I believe it is now time to move to the new poll. Like I said, this session will consist of 5 polls. This was the first. Now we are posing a similar question to the first one. In your browsers, you will be asked, just as in the first session, to rank in order of importance the following potential benefits for having easier and increased access to personal data. The scope of this session is to address mainly data seekers, companies that are seeking data, and that's the difference. We are interested in seeing your viewpoint as a data seeker. And as you vote, we will wait for a minute to make sure that all the votes are captured. You can order first, second, third, most important, based on your viewpoint. For those that have not been able to participate, because I only see 3 participations, probably you need to refresh. Okay, now the system is updated to 12. Probably it is a matter of Chrome refreshing. We will wait for another 30 seconds. I repeat, this is directly related to the evaluation of our 5 demonstrators, our DataVaults, and to the organized work of the previous speaker, Shaun Topham, who relates the stakeholder feedback through such questions with the evaluation that we're trying to achieve. And we shall be moving to the next poll. Now, the next poll, like before, is a Likert scale. If you're a data seeker, would you agree? In the previous section, the question posed was yes, no. Now I would like to see how strong you feel about it. Actually, this question is copy-pasted from the evaluation questionnaire that exists and has been disseminated in various languages. So in your browsers, consider that you are interested in acquiring data from someone, and consider whether you would be willing to pay a compensation to data owners, not as previously to remove anonymization. This is a more wide question, generally providing compensation to generally acquiring personal data. We will be staying in this slide for another 30 minutes. And I think that we can see a clear trend towards medium-strong agreement with the statement. I think it's pretty clear. So we will now be moving to the next poll, which is number 3. This question is again a Likert scale. And as you know, DataVaults is a novel approach to providing compensation schemes and data models under which data could be exchanged, and as we say in our vision, to bring back value to the rightful owners. So the question is rather whether the current data economy models help and guarantee this reciprocity and guarantee these balanced advantages and compensations among all involved stakeholders, or whether you feel that they are insufficient and something must change, and that a new approach to the data models in a fairer and more reciprocal compensation way should be considered. Already by the responses, I can see a strong, may I remind you that the responses are live and we see what you're answering. I can see a strong preference towards strongly disagree, which means people more or less believe that the approach of current economy and business models is not very fair and reciprocal. And this is where DataVault aspires to come in and make innovative proposals on the subject. This question we will stay for another 30 seconds and then we will move on to the last one. We will wait for any participants that have not voted in the link, which I remind is in the chat. And we shall now move to the last poll, which is a multiple question. Now you have to consider that you are a data seeker and that you are using either DataVaults or a platform like DataVaults, a similar one. And the question is, where would you spend your money? Would you agree to pay for any of the following? Yes, no, and you can select more than one. Would you agree to pay for any or more than one of the following? You can tick. You might notice that we are treating differently sensitive data or as potentially more expensive, whether you would be willing to subscribe to a brokering platform like DataVaults or similar in order to get data, whether you would be willing to pay more if the data is are more authentic and verifiable, or, and this is a dual question actually, whether they come from private companies and or public authorities, one could argue. We will wait a little bit more. To make sure that we have captured the sentiment. And I wish to take the opportunity to thank you all for participating in this rather unusual and innovative way of getting live feedback during the workshop, not afterwards. We are enjoying this very much and we want to thank you. So I believe this reaches the end of the second session. I will turn again after 10 seconds. Maybe some people have not still voted in the last question. And I will turn again to the word cloud just to show it to you as a closing remark. And of course, this will be shared in our social media, in our deliverables, and I definitely see some interesting results there. I am quite amazed with the results that we got. I wish to thank you all for your participation, both internal and external stakeholders. I will stop sharing my screen now and return to Yuri.
Okay, thank you, John. I think actually it's the end of our webinar. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much to speakers and organizers of the sessions. The recording of the webinar will be published on the website of BDVA, so you can find it there. And if you are interested to learn more about our projects, about what we are doing, you can contact all the presenters or write directly to me. You can find MyDataMood in the internet or DataVaults in the internet. We will be very happy to talk to you, to collaborate. And we are very interested in this topic. So if you share our passion, please contact us and maybe we can do something together. Thank you. I wish you a nice Friday and nice weekend. Thank you for joining.